You're listening to Change Your POV Podcast, episode 83.
But all that they'll technically eat is carbs or mac and cheese or whatever. Just garbage, right?
Right.
Or bread of one form or fashion.
Yeah.
So I just got sick of it. So I kind of like caved and I started reintroducing grains back into my diet. Next thing you know, within a year, I gained 80 pounds.
Welcome to Change Your POV Podcast, helping you navigate transitions in your life, like entering and exiting college or the military, changing jobs or careers, and providing you with the coaching and mentorship needed to help you advance in your personal or professional life. Sometimes all you need is to change your point of view. Now, here's your host, Eddie Lazary.
Hello, folks. Welcome to Change Your POV Podcast. I am your host, Eddie Lazary.
And I'm Bennett and Eddie.
And this is one of our weekly conversations that we have.
Yeah, but this is our roundup episode for our 30-day challenge that we just finished.
Yes, excellent. So this episode is coming out this Friday, and our last day is actually tomorrow, but we're going to talk about everything, how it went, goods, the bads, the ugly, and then and we're going to share that all with you tonight. But before we do, I got to give a shout out to this week's sponsor, which is...
What is it? 10th. We have a couple, but is it 10th Mountain Apparel?
It is.
Mountain
yes, 10th Mountain Up, 10th Mountain Apparel.
Mountain Up?
Which, oh, by the way, we are interviewing Mountain Up CEO Ryan Hunt tonight, as a matter of fact, after we record this episode.
I just heard from one of our other interviewees.
Yeah.
So Wednesday's Dan. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, we can do this live on air. See, because this is real fucking life, people.
Right.
Okay. Anyway.
Yeah, so tonight, after we recorded, we're getting on the horn with Ryan Hunt, the CEO of Mountain Up, who is this week's sponsor. So yeah, man, they sell all kinds of really good shit, really cool stuff.
I mean, really cool stuff.
Yeah, and not just like, really cool, but like really like high quality, really cool shit. You know what I mean?
I have one of their t-shirts on right now. I have the one with the 10th Mountain statue. So it's a soldier helping another soldier up a mountain.
Right.
So anyone that's been 10th Mountain knows it. Yeah,
but you don't. Here's the kicker though. Even though it's called 10th Mountain, they got a lot of 10th Mountain stuff. It's not inclusive of 10th Mountain. They've got stuff from all different divisions and everything like that. So like I got a First Cav hat, which is not 10th Mountain. I've never been in 10th Mountain. So when I first heard it, I was like, that's cool. But, I was never 10th Mountain. But I started surfing around their website, and they've got a lot more shit than just 10th Mountain. So go check it out, regardless of what division you're in.
Even at Marine Corps and Air Force shit, too.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yes,
That's good. Cool. So, yeah, but if you want to go check out their stuff, head on over to changeyourpov.com/Mountain Up, and that will bring you straight to their site. And you will, you could also use the promo code GOOD10, that's GOOD10, GOOD10, for 10% off. So head on over there and pick up, a hat, some patches, some shirts, a hoodie, whatever your heart's desire. And a lot of this stuff makes really cool gifts, especially if you got somebody that's just like I know two guys that are graduating AIT this week from Fort Sill. They're baby fisters, 13 Foxes. And it turns out that Ryan Hunt was a 13 Fox as well, along with me, and we happen to know some of the same people. So he sells a lot of the 13 Fox stuff as well. So If you are a fister, or if you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. You're not in the club. If you know what a fister is, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. He's got all kinds of fister apparel and products that he's selling over there as well, which is pretty cool stuff. And he said they've got a lot of stuff in the works they haven't released yet that they're going to be here shortly. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but they got a lot of really. They're always adding stuff to their line of products. So just head on over and check it out. ChangeYourPOV.com/mountain up and your promo code GOOD10 for your 10% off. All right, man, let's get into this. So this week's episode, we are talking about the conclusion of our 30-day Well-Fit Challenge. Yes?
Absolutely.
So tomorrow, actually, Bennett, it's our last day. It's the day 30 of our 30-day Well-Fit Challenge, which means tomorrow morning is our last weigh-in of the 30-day Well-Fit Challenge.
Correct.
And it'll be our last journal entry. There is a special journal entry at the end there. We're going to be posting our pictures and our closing, our end of 30-day challenge pictures. We haven't taken them yet, but we will be. That'll all be up and ready to go by this weekend. Even though tomorrow's our last day, I need a few days to get everything closed out on the site. And we got a final journal entry where you and I are gonna kind of talk about our experiences on the journal entry, but we're also going to do that tonight. So how did it go for you? Let's go back in time now. 30 days ago, what did you think?
Well, I thought I was just not happy with me by any stretch of the imagination. And part of my issue is because I was just looking at me, just a few short years ago, even, where I had been living this, I guess you would call it a paleo lifestyle. I felt the best I'd felt in years. Going back beyond even like my Army, even my Army days weren't the best. There was a space at the end of my Army career when I was in really good shape and doing good things and feeling motivated and whatnot. And then that kind of went to the wayside. And then I picked up this paleo thing about, 4 or 5 years ago.
Now, how did you hear about it? Just curious.
I watched a documentary called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, which is basically, it's by a man named Joe Cross. He's an Australian. He was very similar to me starting this challenge, 300 and something plus pounds, but was on it. The one thing that the difference is I wasn't really sick. I'm sick because of like metabolic syndrome and just, all the things that go along with being overweight, really out of shape and all that. But this guy had like skin disorder and he was on like steroids and all kinds of stuff. Right. So he was just looking for a way to like reset himself. And he found juicing. So he basically lived on nothing for 60 days except for fresh juice. Now, juice from kale, juice from apples, juice from beets, you name it. Vegetables and fruit, but mainly vegetables, right? And would juice them or buy the juicing, and not like store-bought juice, but fresh, like buy the vegetables and juice them yourself, that type of thing. Right. So I watched that, and that's the thing that sent me. God, my family's loud. You hear them in the background? Oh yeah. Holy hell. Thanks for the freaking, backup singing, guys. So, and I'm locked in my freaking studio here, but anyway, AKA my bedroom. So that headed me right down this rabbit hole, right? So I actually did I think it ended up being 34 days I drank nothing but juice.
Wow.
And lost a ton of weight, man. I lost like 40 pounds.
Wow.
Now, Joe, over his 60-day period, I think he lost like 90 pounds.
Holy cow.
And came out the other side basically like a vegetarian, which
Right.
to each their own. There is, it is what it is. But basically the key. So basically what I gathered from that is the key to this clean eating, right? So at that point, then I did all the studies on. So I started reading, I started watching more documentaries, I started doing actual research in like medical journals and things like that, because that's just how I work.
Right.
Took some classes in nutrition, and that was all bullshit. That's what it came out to me, is I saw the things that actually made people lose, like change their lifestyle. Okay.
Right.
So yes, I saw a ton of people losing weight when they did these things, like did The Biggest Loser or went on calorie restrictive diets and just worked out like crazy, or the low carb diet, the low fat diet, the low whatever. Okay. So I really started digging, because I'm like, listen, I've done all this shit and I always gain the weight back because it's unsustainable. Right? In today's world. So I really just started looking. I'm like, okay. So I thought about the way that, I went into the blood type diet. I like dug into that. And then finally I was in bodybuilding.com. Okay. And I was reading this blog post, and all these guys were talking about ketogenesis, which is basically a point where you are so low on carbs that your body completely switches over to burning fat for fuel.
Right.
And that kind of cracked open the door to paleo primal land. And I found a guy named Mark Sisson, Rob Wolf, and I started reading their research and studies, and then a gentleman named Chris Kressler, and there's just a whole bunch. There's probably a dozen of them that are really big in the space, right?
Right.
And a lot of them, like Chris Kressler, Rob Wolf, they're actually biologists and doctors by profession. It's not. So I started looking into the research, and over these years, there's just been more and more and more. So I actually fell off the wagon, for lack of a better way of putting it, when probably about 6 months before my wife and I moved from this. So this was about 2.5 years ago. I basically fell off the wagon. What did it? I don't know. I think it was too hard for me to fight, because my family wasn't on board. And not that my wife wasn't, but the problem is that I do the majority of the cooking. And if you can't get your kids to eat, after a while, it's like pissing into the wind, right? So they're sitting there complaining that they're hungry, but all that they'll technically eat is carbs or mac and cheese or whatever, just garbage, right?
Right.
Or bread of one form or fashion.
Yeah.
So I just got sick of it. So I kind of like caved, and I started reintroducing grains back into my diet. Next thing you know, within a year, I gained 80 pounds.
Wow.
I didn't really change the way I ate.
Right.
Except for the only thing I did was add grain. So I added back bread. Not a ton of processed foods. Now, don't get me wrong. We never really have eaten processed foods other than, say, pasta. You consider that a processed food for sure.
Right.
But all I did was add grains back into my diet. Initially, it was just rice, and then it was grains in general. I gained 80 freaking pounds in a year.
And
And
were you exercising at the time?
no.
Yeah.
But I had stopped exercising. I hadn't really been exercising on the paleo diet either, right?
Right.
But I was still maintaining my weight. I didn't
Right.
have to work out.
Yeah. And then that's kind of like, for me, when I started to gain the weight, then I kind of stopped working out, right, getting exercise, and then I started to gain the weight, and then when I started to gain the weight, I was like, what's the point in exercising because I've gained this much? It was like these limiting kind of beliefs that you start believing. You know what I mean?
Limiting and self. What do they call it? A self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes, exactly.
And then you start to play the game because it's like, you talk yourself out of it. You talk yourself into being a shitbag and being mediocre and everything else on top of it.
And the other thing too is, I mean, especially nowadays where everyone is super afraid to offend anyone for anything, right? You can't tell your kids these days what they're doing wrong for fear that, the the what do you call it? The police, oh my God, I can't even think of the word for it right now. But 2015,
like
2016,
the friggin' correctness police, the friggin' politically correct police.
Yes, exactly. The politically correct police are going to get called up, and you're going to be
politically correct police.
Yeah,
suck it.
You're going to be like ostracized because and it's just like some of that's maybe excuses, but some of it isn't, right? I mean, let's be honest. We now live in the age where, remember when we were kids? We not only were corrected by our parents, but we could be. I remember as a little kid walking through the store and acting a fool, and some random adult would like put me in my place. You know what I mean?
I do it now.
You do?
You know what? It pisses people off. Well,
what?
No. You know what? It's almost, I guess it depends. People that are, you know what? It's also, I can tell you, here's another funny observation. Not only is it generational, so people that are in their 40s, have kids that are either early teens to 7, 8, 9, 10. So late 30s, early 40s, our generation. I'll sometimes tell their kid to knock it off or what. I mean, I'm very what's the word? Tactful about it. I'm not like, hey kid, shut your mouth. But I'll look at a kid and go, huh, so that's how we do this? Or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I'll kind of call them out in a funny or whatever way. And I've had more parents in that age group turn to me and go, thank you.
Right.
Because you're like calling the kid out and make them realize that they're acting a fool or whatever. I do it to my kids. I do it to my kids' friends. Like there's no tomorrow. But here's the thing. There's like it's almost like there's a socioeconomic line.
Right.
So if and I don't want to label people, but I guess I am. There's a socioeconomic line that it seems like there's a point when people just have nothing. They're just so confrontational that if you even look at them sideways, they flip on you.
Yeah.
And a lot of times those are the kids that are out of control. And I get it because the parents just, you can tell they just don't say anything because they're just beat down. You know what I mean? But if someone else says something, it's like, don't talk to my child like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't talk to, whatever. And I've had that happen. It actually happened to me the other day in Aldi. And it was a kid was doing something. And I said, honey, you might not want to do that in the freezer. Like she was like diving into a freezer almost at Aldi, like digging way down deep. And I'm just like, that's not the safest thing. And her dad actually he didn't get up in my face, but he definitely got attitude. And I was like, hey, I'm just trying to make sure that she doesn't hurt herself.
Right. Exactly.
So,
yeah.
whatever.
And,
it is what it is, but
yeah, and where I was going with this whole thing is no, I got you pushed the button with you, man. So where I was going with that is nowadays we're almost taught that, this whole anti-bullying and right, and I totally agree with that. My daughter was severely bullied in school, and kids are just, they got no respect and
kids are
no sense
brutal,
of,
man.
they don't have any couth these days. There's no respect whatsoever. But the problem with that is we've tipped the scales so far on the other side now, where we have to accept everyone for the way they are, and we have to be okay. Like, if a 10-year-old boy, let's say, is 200 pounds, like, you can look at him and just think in your head, like, wow, that kid is severely obese, like, to the point where he's either going to have severe medical issues if he doesn't already, right? But we're taught nowadays where everyone's got to be accepted for who they are, for where they are, for what they believe in, and if you were to say anything against that, then you are in the wrong, right? But so I brought up the 10-year-old kid, but we do this as adults now, right? So now we are adults, and we're overweight. 20 years ago, it wouldn't be, nothing to look at your friends that were overweight and say, hey man, when you're going to lay off the cheeseburgers, you need to lose some weight, right? Because that's just what you did 20 years ago. You were just very more, I don't know, open and honest with your friends and family. But nowadays we live in the age where you can't say anything negative or derogatory to anybody about anything, because you might actually offend them, right? And so, because no one else is willing to take that stand and tell us the truth, then it's very easy for us to not be honest with ourselves. Have you found that to be the case?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, especially with, all right. So unfortunately, a lot of people want to blame parents and all this stuff, play the blame game for parents of like overweight children and whatnot. And it all kind of goes hand in hand, right? Or, we talk about bullying. What's one of the biggest things that kids get bullied about? Being fat, right?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
we've all done it. We've all been there. People have always, whatever. But at the end of the day, the disservice that's being done is from our public education. I'm not saying the education system, but I'm saying the fact that we're being force fed this bullshit of eating 7 to 10 or 11 whatever freaking servings of grains a day is the healthy way to be. And you can put it any way, cut it any way you want. Freaking whole grain, white bread, I don't give a fuck. Whatever grain you want to eat, guess what? At the end of the day, it's still not good for you. Some people may be more adapted to eating them than others. But okay, prime example today. My kids, so going back to my story, I finally got my kids and my niece and nephew very limited in the amount of grain that they're eating. Like, they're not getting it from me because I refuse to buy it. Right. Remember you and I had that conversation? No. Yeah. I won't. Because I won't be hypocritical about it anymore. I won't go to the grocery store and I won't buy bread. I won't buy macaroni and cheese. I won't buy pasta. I won't buy it. If you want it, so this is what I said to my wife and my brother and sister-in-law. If you want it, you go buy it yourself. Right. I am not buying it. And I do 75% of the grocery shopping. So if you want it, you go buy it. So kids hadn't had grain in almost a week. Right. All right. All right. So I come upstairs, and as most other people know, I do another podcast, Cigars and Sea Stories. And we did 2 hours of episodes today. And Jocelyn actually got on, which is kind of cool, but we'll talk about that later. My kids, my niece and nephew, found some bagels. They toasted them up, buttered them up, cream cheesed them up. ate them, and guess what? Come dinner time, everyone felt like shit.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to eat their dinner.
Right.
Especially my oldest, or my 11-year-old. She was in bed here laying down for almost an hour because her belly hurt.
Right. Yeah, man.
And I guarantee you it's because they ate that wheat. Guarantee you. Wheat and sugar on top of that.
Right.
Oh my God. It was like ding, 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 ding. And I said it to my wife. I said it to everybody. I said, mark my words, none of them are going to want to eat their dinner. And they ended up eating their dinner. You know, it's the only way that why they ate their dinner, though. It's so they could eat more shit. It's because then if they ate their dinner, they could have ice cream.
Right.
So how many of your kids are eating stuff that you're putting on their plate, and half of that's probably shit?
Right.
Just to eat shit as a reward for eating that shit. No, it's such a fucked up self-fulfilling prophecy.
It is.
And
it is.
Unfortunately, no one's educated in the ins and outs of it. And you know what? People fight me every freaking day. I don't talk about it a lot. I'll talk about it here because this is what we're talking about, right? But I don't try to. It's like people. It's almost like religious zealotry, because it's like, you know, the truth, but no one wants to hear you. Right. Because it bursts their little bubble in the paradigm that they live in, because they want to be fat and happy and live and eat whatever the hell they want, drink whatever the hell they want, do whatever the hell they want. If it feels good, let's do it.
Yeah. Well, so a lot of people have this mantra of, you only live once, so you might as well do what you like and do what you enjoy.
That's right. Sometimes I go there too, and I'm like, fuck it. But you know what? That's not the right answer. I mean, here's what I wonder. I wonder if you were able to get a kid, right? All right, so take some of the tribes that are still out there that have very limited contact with civilized world, right?
Right.
And there's a couple studies, and I'm not going to go into them because I don't know the specifics on them, because I can't read them right now, and I can't go verbatim on them because I haven't looked into them enough. But needless to say, there is a tribe somewhere, and I can't remember exactly where it's at. But you know what? I'll get back to you, America, on this and get the specifics, because I really want you to see it. Is that the life expectancy is somewhere in the 70s or 80s, right? They eat no grains. They eat basically a completely natural diet, hunter-gatherer style, paleo, primal diet, right? Because they're literally living off the land, eating wild
they
game,
got no other choice,
fruits,
right?
Tubers, berries, fruit, that type of shit, right?
Yeah.
And there's no advanced medical care. They don't have antibiotics. They don't have any of that shit. But yet they're still living to their 70s and 80s, even with the hardships of living the hunter-gatherer lifestyle. Now, imagine if you lived the hunter-gatherer lifestyle or the primal paleo lifestyle from birth and had antibiotics and advanced medical care. And I'm not talking about medical care that's made to make you sick. Right. I'm talking about medical care that's preventive, that's actually like monitoring your heart, monitoring your liver, monitoring those your cholesterol and the blood panels and whatnot. Because regardless, just because you're eating this way, the thing is that most of these people aren't dying because of disease. They're dying because they just got old.
Right.
And their
or accidents
or they're 70 whatever, and they fall down and they break a fucking hip. Or they skin their knee falling down and hit their head and end up getting an infection somewhere. You know what I'm saying? So they're not dying because of whatever. They're not dying because of disease. They're dying because of accident. So
how fat are they?
They're like zero fat. You know, and at the end of the day, I would love to see somebody from birth to death and see how long they actually live.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Eating the right foods, living that life.
Right.
Uh,
So all right. So I gotta kind of bring it up. I'll bring it up now. So this week, so many listeners may or may not know, but I got chickens, right? And I have 4 roosters that I had to get rid of because the 4 roosters it's not good to have, I think it's like 1 rooster to 12 hens or something like that or 20 hens or something like that. But you start getting a lot of roosters to very few hens, and there starts to be like a significant problem with territory. Like my roosters were fighting each other, and they were like gang raping my hens. It wasn't pretty, right?
Freaking
So
cockfights, literally.
yeah, literally. So I knew I had to get rid of. I wanted to get rid of them, and so I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to just off them and throw them in the garbage can. I'm gonna eat them. And so, but let me back up for a minute. So I have fed my all of my chickens very little grain, like store bought. You can buy the chicken feed or whatever, like
Yeah,
the
but
grain.
it's mainly grain.
Yeah, so I have fed them very, very little. I mean, I do have a bag of grain that I will toss out, a little scoopful once a week or something like that. But for the most part, they're just free range. They're eating bugs and worms and ticks and whatever else out in the
And you feed
yard.
them vegetable scraps and stuff
Well,
too,
well,
right?
that's the thing. Yeah, because this whole 30-day WellFit challenge, because I've been eating paleo as I prepare my food, you inevitably end up with scraps like ends of strawberries or, watermelon rinds and, extra, you know, um,
Yeah, stuff off like
le-
the head of the lettuce and
yes,
celery and all that
exactly, right,
stuff.
all that stuff. So instead of
But
throwing
this is
that
all shit
away,
that chickens love to eat.
yeah, so instead of throwing that away, I just been throwing that out to my chickens. So they've been eating essentially paleo too, right?
Essentially eating what you're eating.
Yeah, exactly, right. For like the whole 30 days that we've been doing this, they've been eating as well as I have. Pretty much eating everything that I've been eating. And just the leftovers or there's on occasion there be a bunch of I usually buy the large container of mixed leafy greens, you know what I mean? And sometimes I don't end up using all of it before some of it goes bad, so I'll end up throwing the stuff that started to wilt or whatever out to them. So they've been just eating all kinds of stuff. And so when it came time to butcher these roosters, I butchered 2 of them this weekend. I still have 2 more to do. So at first I got to tell you, man, that killing and eating your own food is
Hard damn work.
it is it is, man. So it's I okay, so I had to catch these damn things, right? So I'm chasing around the yard.
Dude, you
like
should have had your son video it.
well, I was trying to solicit his help to help me corner them, and dude, so I was chasing these things
Should have
around.
asked his girlfriend. She probably would have done it.
So,
Sally boy.
so I finally caught one, and I killed it, and I had prepared the 5-gallon bucket of boiling water to dip them in to get their feathers loose, and then I had to essentially pluck their feathers by hand, and I did one chicken at a time, and so between catching it, killing it, dunking it, plucking it, and then bringing it in the house, and then butchering it the rest of the way, removing all the guts and intestines and organs and everything, and cutting the feet off and the neck out and all of that, just basically prepping it was a workout. I only did 2, man, and it took a lot longer than I thought. And these things aren't very big. They're not like the same size of chicken you would expect to buy at a grocery store. These were much smaller.
Well, they never are. They're the ones that you buy in the store. All right, so if you take a free range chicken, like find a free range chicken at the grocery store and put it next to a free range or a regular hen that's like an industrial farmed hen, it's always going to be smaller.
Oh, yeah. And what was crazy is the kind of chicken.
I should say that the parts are going to be smaller. Does that make sense? Like you're not going to have these huge breasts.
Oh, no.
It just doesn't happen.
No. It was everything on the chicken was much smaller. And And it wasn't the same. I don't know what kind of chicken it is that you buy that they make at the store with the, the white skin or whatever. So the chicken that I had was, I plucked the feathers, and the the skin was green, like green, right? Like, oh my God, what the hell is this green?
Right. Well,
So
like the picture you sent me, it
yeah,
was like, it looked really like blue.
it was bluish green,
My
right?
God, like a fucking
And
like algae.
I'll put the picture of the chicken in the show notes page of this episode. But I sent this picture to you, to my brother Chris, and to my wife, who's still out of town. And I sent you three this picture all at the same time, and I started getting all the responses back. And here's what my brother said. Ready? He texts me back, and he says, he said, and oh, by the way, these two chickens, he knew that I was bringing them over to his house to cook up this
Don't
weekend.
bring those motherfucking chickens to my house.
He's like, all right, he says, hold on, I gotta find it. Oh, so I send it, and he goes, I very well could be ignorant on the matter, but do all chickens have that dragon green color?
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then I said that, and you came back and you were like, yes, blue skin chickens or something
I was
crazy.
really thinking about other things, but and I'm sure you can go there. If you really think about our blue dragon stuff, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So I bring him over there, and I told my brother, he's like, well, before I took him out of the bag that I had them in when I got to his house, I was like, I was like, we just cook them up, man, and no one, we just won't tell him, and no one will be none the wiser. Well, I took him out of the bag, and he looked at me, he goes, sorry, man, there's no way we're slipping that past anyone.
You gotta skin that fucker first.
He goes, it was a velociraptor. So we did. We skinned him.
Velociraptor.
He's like fucking velociraptors, man.
That's awesome.
Dude, you should have seen these things, man. They're scary as hell. So he took the skin. So he started to part them out to get them ready for the barbecue. So he took the skin off. Dude, this meat was like purple. Like the meat inside was purple.
Oh my God.
And like dark burgundy, like purplish,
That's
right?
awesome.
And there was an ounce of fat on these things anywhere. Normally when you buy chicken at the store, you're cutting.
You know what breed they are?
Yeah, silkies.
Yeah, I'm probably sure that they're not meant for eating too much.
No, they probably are. No, they're not. They're not the kind of chicken that you would raise to eat.
Well, and you know what? Again, why not? It's because of aesthetics. That's why.
Exactly. Right.
And it comes down to cultural norm as we do what is told to us by whatever, and we do it because they did. What's that freaking story? Your mom always cuts the end of the ham off and cooks the ham for Thanksgiving or for Christmas dinner, let's say, right?
Right.
But she cuts the ham off, and you say, Mom, why do you cut the end of the ham off? And she goes, because that's what your grandmother used to do. Right. Then you go to your grandma and you're like, Grandma, why do you cut the end of the ham off? Oh, because the pan I had, or actually, I think the story goes one more, because that's the way my mom did it. It turns out that grandma used to make it in a pan that was too short to fit the whole ham, so she would cut the ham off. You know what I mean? So yeah, why did you do it that way? Just because that's the way my mom did it, or that's the way my grandma did it, or that's the way my mom did it. Yeah. So these things are passed down. So why do you eat chicken that looks the way it is? It's because that's the chicken you eat. Right. Why do you eat red beef when half the time the beef that you buy from the grocery store is freaking dyed? When actually beef is brown. It's not freaking red. You know what I mean? Right. So I'm just saying, sorry. Yeah. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's because the meat is, it's what looks appetizing to the masses.
Exactly. I mean, it was a chicken. It's perfectly edible. All chickens are.
So at the end of the day, what did it taste like?
It tastes like chicken. It was no
delicious,
different.
wasn't it?
Yeah, it was way, I mean, it was way leaner. I mean, it was amazing how different it was than a regular chicken you buy at the store. I mean, even my brother would, when he took the drums, the legs, the thighs,
Right.
the drumsticks, basically, he's always, whenever he parts a chicken that he buys at the store, he always cuts off the end joint, the knuckle.
Yeah.
So when it barbecues, the skin kind of,
it gets,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Works. Yeah. So he would, so he grabbed the knife that he normally, chops that off and he sticks the knife on the bone and he hits it with his hand and like nothing happens. And he like hits it with his hand again harder and nothing happens. He's like, bang, 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 bang. And he finally breaks through. Mind you, this is a much smaller chicken, means even the bones are smaller. But he was just like, holy cow, I cannot believe how hard these bones are. It was unbelievable. So the bones were like very, very white, like shiny, bright.
Right.
They were extremely hard. There was no
like you
fat
couldn't
on
bite
them.
into them like a normal
Oh
chicken
no,
bone.
no, it was like way different than the chickens. Basically the chickens you buy at the store, they're extremely fat. Their bones are very
Brittle.
very weak, very soft, right? And it has to do with the food that they're fed, right?
And the amount of activity.
Oh, true.
Because most commercial chickens, they barely move. They won't move more than a 10-foot circle their entire fucking life.
Right. Yep. So it's just proof to me, right? To look inside that dead chicken, to see the anatomy and how strong their bones were.
I cannot wait to get my blue dragon chicken.
Oh my God, dude! You trust me. Everyone
I'm gonna call them Game of Thrones chickens.
Yes, dude. Yes. So we ended up cooking them way overcooked. My brother was like,
of course,
I think
he's scared.
Yeah, because he's like, well, you can't. He goes, how do you tell if they're undercooked? Because normal chicken, if they're undercooked, they're a little pink.
Yeah.
But these are like purple meat, man. You can't tell. So we like cooked them way too much. But
yeah.
But dude, sorry, I didn't mean to talk.
But at the end of the day, you know what? That's the best kind of chicken for, right? Is stewing.
Oh yeah, and we made a homemade broth.
Yeah, so
we took the carcasses.
Yeah, man.
We made homemade broth. Yeah. So we used every bit of the chicken. So, but I told him after it was all said and done, we put the meat on the barbecue, and there was very little meat, and I was just like, man. I told him, I said, I can't believe that it took that much effort to get that little meat. But it just goes to show you how much we take for granted when we eat, and not only when we eat, but how much we eat. Right. I mean,
now there are certain breeds that you can buy, especially like even like literally just going to like, what's the tractor store? Isn't it the tractor store?
Tractor Supply.
Tractor Supply. In the spring you can buy chickens. You can buy chickens, you can buy ducks, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So they make certain kinds that do best for eating hens and whatnot like that, And once they're done laying, you can, kick it off. I like the ones that actually, it's funny. See, this is kind of thing. It freaks my kids out, but they think it's cool too. So we go and buy these free range eggs from the farmer's market. Mm-hmm. And they're literally a smattering of like 4 or 5 different breeds, right? So they go everything from brown, like speckled eggs, to the eggs are straight up blue. Right? Yeah. So that the shells are blue, and some are like a turquoise color, some are like damn, like they look like an Easter egg because they're that blue. Yeah. And the thing with the free range egg that's truly free range like that, you crack that sucker open. There's some of these eggs that we crack open, and literally the yolks are so dark they're like a blood orange.
Yeah. Yep.
They're almost red, which is a really good sign. Because if you think about the commercial eggs, they're all yellow, period. Mm-hmm. So you're really getting good free range eggs when the yolks are orange, like a deep orange. But they think it's cool that they eat blue eggs,
Yeah.
My kids do.
And I mean, even buying vegetables from a farmer's market, the vegetables that you're buying fresh out of the garden taste way different than the stuff you're buying at a commercial grocery store, right? And so it's just the closer you can eat to natural nature. So, I mean, the closer you can eat to nature is better. So it's better to buy, it's better to eat the chicken at your grocery store and, in the vegetables and fruits that you buy at the store than it is to chow down on mac and cheese every night of the week, right? But if you
For
can
sure.
take it one step further and get even closer to the more natural state, then that just becomes there's different degrees or levels of
Well, I mean,
paleo,
it comes
just like,
down to grass-fed beef or
right.
bison
Yep.
or any kind of like red meat type thing, grass-fed.
Yeah.
Pastured pork, which means that the porks are the porks, the pigs or the hogs are literally raised out in pasture.
Yeah.
That they're not in pens their whole life and fed grain and things like that, that they're able to go out and root around and eat natural things,
Yeah.
So pastured pork. This is just terminology, folks.
Right.
Grass-fed beef, pastured pork, free-range chickens, not cage-free, not whatever. The cream of the crop is free range.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And most of those you're only gonna get that if you go to a farm. Truly, you're not gonna find a
Right.
lot in store that's free range. And if you
No.
do, can you really trust it at the end of
Right.
the day? So then the
Yeah.
next level is like all natural, or and see, here's the other thing, folks. Organic is kind of a slippery slope when it comes to meat,
Mm-hmm.
because technically organic beef or pork or chicken, they can be feeding them organic grain.
Right.
So again, you are what you eat. So
Yep.
if the beef eats organic corn, right, it's still
Mm-hmm.
eating corn. It's still riddled with E. coli. Doesn't matter if it's organic or not. And then
Right.
in turn, the omega-3 to omega-6 ratio, which again, this is all sciencey crap. Well, get into the 60-day challenge and you'll learn all that shit. So,
Mm-hmm.
the omega-3 to omega-6 balance is totally out of whack.
Mm.
Okay. And because they're eating all grain. So, natural though is better than regular commercial. So organic, natural, no hormones, no antibiotics, that type of stuff. You always
Mm-hmm.
want to go there if you can.
Right.
And frankly, grass-fed, pastured, and free range is just expensive unless you go directly to the farmer and
Yeah.
buy like half a cow. What
Right.
did I call it? Co-oping, cow-opping.
Cow-opping. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
get together with a couple buddies and buy a whole cow. 3
Mm-hmm.
or 4 of you. Split it 4 ways. You each get a quarter of a cow. Ton of meat. Cows weigh 700 freaking pounds, man.
Mm-hmm.
You do the math. At the end of the day, you're paying 4 something, 5 something a pound. You go buy a ribeye. What's that costing you?
Oh,
One
a hell of a
ribeye
lot more.
steak.
Yeah.
At minimum, you're probably paying $8 a pound.
Oh, yeah.
So you buy a
Easy.
1 pound steak and, whatever.
Right.
Everyone understands what I'm saying. So it's almost
Yeah.
like paying half price for beef.
Mm-hmm.
And you're getting free range, organic, or not free range, grass fed beef for $4 a pound, $5 a pound.
Right.
It's incredible. And you can tell the difference, folks. I'm sorry,
Oh,
you just
yeah.
can.
Yeah.
And then the last is if you have to buy commercially raised meat, then you can. But then what I suggest is that you get the leanest cuts possible then, because a lot
Right.
of those toxins and a lot of those the bad stuff lives in the fat.
Mm.
It's more concentrated in there than it would be in the muscles. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Yeah.
the other thing that I really wanted to bring up, because you bring up you brought up earlier, like, why did I get into this stuff, and why are we doing this?
Yeah.
And one of the things I wanted to give is shout out some resources that other people, that these are the books that helped me get there. You know what I'm saying? It was mainly books. The first book I ever read actually was given to me by my chiropractor. And it's called Wheat Belly. And it's an amazing book. Wheat Belly, lose the wheat, lose the weight, and find your path back to health. And it's talks about, this is something that you really probably should look into, Eddie, is leaky gut syndrome. I'm sure you've read a little bit about it. But people that have intestinal issues, a lot of times it comes back to leaky gut, and that in all actuality, your immune system starts with your gut. And if
I was listening to that podcast by Sean Stevenson, and he said that the 80% of the body's immune system is made up in the intestines.
It's made up in your guts. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
that's
like
crazy.
With the biome and flora and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And if you just load it up with sugar feeds the bad bacteria. And things like that. It's very complex in a lot of ways, but yet it's not. So Wheat Belly, right? Then after that, the next book that I really dove into was The Primal Blueprint by Mark Sisson. Wheat Belly is by a gentleman named William Davis. So then The Primal Blueprint, Mark Sisson. After that, and frankly, The Primal Blueprint, I still read it till this day. I'm studying, as some people know, I'm studying to be a primal health coach. And it's kind of like, I'm not saying, it's like the Bible, but it definitely, he's one of the leaders in this whole lifestyle.
Yeah.
After that, Rob Wolf, The Paleo Solution, is a fantastic book, and he gets really sciencey because he's actually a biologist by trade, and education. So he gets really sciencey into it. And then the other gentleman on that science side is Chris Kresser, 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 and his book is called Your Paleo Code, which is great. It's a great book, and it gets really deep into the science of why paleo or why primal,
Right.
And then Practical Paleo is another book that I've really gotten into. And then one of the other books, which has got great stuff in it, it's called It Starts With Food. And that's there's a program that comes out of that called the Whole 30, which is a pretty cool way to start out if you really are having health issues. Do a Whole 30. And what it kind of does is it starts you from scratch, and you can see what your body reacts to, whether it's eggs or nightshades or, wheat or nuts or legumes and all these different things. So basically cuts everything out, and then you slowly introduce things, and then you see how you feel.
Right. Right.
So yeah. So these are all books, and then another one that I really like I really like their blog, and I really like their I really like her recipes, is Nom Nom Paleo is what it's called.
How do you spell
Nom Nom, NOMNOM Paleo. Great website, great recipes. And she's kind of a riot. I think it's her and her husband. And they're just kind of funny. And then just to throw this in there, because it's really this is the last one I'm going to put out there, is really one of the first books ever, one of the real true pioneers of the primal paleo movement is a gentleman named Loren Cordain, and the book is The Paleo Diet: Lose Weight and Get Healthy by Eating the Food You Were Designed to Eat. So
cool, man.
Yeah, so we should put all those in the show notes.
Yeah, I do. I definitely will.
Links and all that type of stuff. And there's literally hundreds of books out there. But those are just some of the starting points and some of the best things. And I'm telling you, once you start and you go, you might find it difficult, but I'm telling you, if you give it that time and you just kind of go all in, you are not going to regret it.
And I totally agree. And we kind of got away from the topic that we started out with, and that was just a wrap up of the 30-day Well-Fit Challenge. We really started getting into the paleo and the diet and other things, which is totally fine. But
at the end of the day, this is all what we've been doing for the last.
It is, and that's the point I was trying to make. Is I think the biggest thing for me in this 30-day Well-Fit Challenge, one, I mean, getting back and doing exercise again, that's all by itself was a positive, it was a plus, but it wasn't anything new for me. Right? It was just something I just started to do.
And that's huge because this, man.
Yeah.
You know how to work out. You know what to do.
Right.
I mean, frankly, you could have stayed eating the same way you were. Mm-hmm. And all you would have had to do is start working out. Like, we didn't have to do the lifestyle side of this. We could have just focused on the, hey, let's just go out and move. We still would have lost weight. We still would have whatever. Right. But your issues, the underlying bullshit that you were dealing, will still be there.
That's the thing. That's the thing that was such a game changer for me. Because I've done the quote unquote diets that increased exercises, right, and all of that. But it was just more of the same, basically. You know what I mean?
It's because it's based on calories in, calories out.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's no thought or process of the quality of. I mean, think about this, dude. Some of the biggest money making systems in this nation revolve around weight loss and diet. Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem, Jenny Craig, dude. There's literally dozens of them, and they sell. What do they sell you? What do they push on you? They can say that they don't push on you, but at the end of the day, it's about convenience. So a lot of people end up going to the grocery store and buying Weight Watchers meals or Smart Ones, or why I know this? Because I've done it. Healthy Eats and all this other bullshit. Guess what, folks? It's all processed. It's loaded down with sodium, and half of it's Frankenfood.
Right. Yeah.
For lack of a better way of putting it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
everybody gets sold on the quick, the easy, the convenient, the 5-minute workouts,
500 calories, 4 grams of fat, and only 2 grams of carbs or whatever. Eat this, and you'll be freaking Marie Osmond, with all the plastic surgery she's had over the freaking years in 35 days.
Yeah,
it's like no. What did it start with? 10-minute abs. Right. Now there's like a 2-minute abs.
Yeah, 30-second abs.
30-second abs. I can do it here. This is the way that you can do it faster, better, and get the same workout in 2 minutes.
Exactly.
That the old 10-minute workout used to do for you. And here's the magic pills to go along with it.
Right. It's such a crock of shit, man.
Is it the red pill and the blue pill? What are we, in the Matrix? Yes, we are. Unfortunately, that's what.
You're right.
We're fucking Morpheus. That's us right now. We're Morpheus sitting there looking at Neo going, would you like to take the red pill or would you like to take the blue pill? It's your choice, Neo.
Yeah.
Would you like to keep going down the rabbit hole with, and find out what's really on the other side? What the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
Is that a way to live? That's no way to live, man.
No, it isn't. And the thing about it is anything worth doing right is going to take time. It's going to take effort. You got to work for it. I'm sorry, man, but the 5 minute this and a 2 minute that and that convenience, this bullshit, that's all just a crock of shit. You want a healthy life, you're going to have to work
Now,
for it.
the one thing
right?
now here's the one thing, and this is kind of cool, where our program that we've put forward here, to an extent, on the physicality of all this, does make your life easier.
Oh, it does.
Because,
I mean, it's still got to work.
It's mindset, though.
It is
So
mindset.
what
It's mostly mindset. Yeah.
I don't go out and work out for an hour and a half, or go to the free. All right, beautiful summer day. Why do I go to the freaking gym to run on a treadmill?
Right.
When
exactly.
I should just go walk out my front door
Yep.
and walk for half an hour.
Yep.
And not like a crazy man, just walk at a comfortable pace. Right. And then also do everything I can throughout the day to increase movement. It's a matter of realizing that life is fucking exercise.
Yep.
Period. And that too much exercise is counterproductive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that we haven't even talked about, really.
No.
That people are in chronic over they chronically overwork out.
Right.
And they're killing themselves. And then they come home and they do an after workout meal because they just burnt off all the freaking other carbs that they ate.
Right.
Why do you think people eat on the American diet? Why do they always say eat 5-6 meals a day? Because if you're eating carbs and your body's burning carbs, everyone knows that crash that I'm talking about.
Yep.
Everybody knows, oh my God, my blood sugar's dropping, I need to eat.
Yeah.
Or that they've gotten to the point where they've adapted themselves, where they might eat once, maybe twice a day, and they just gorge themselves.
Yeah, that's what I used to do.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And you know what? Been there, done that, got the t-shirt as well. So this isn't shit that is just floating out there in the ether. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. I've lived it. Eddie's lived it as well.
Yep.
Maybe not on the same level, but Eddie knows how to work out. And here's at the end of the day of 30 days, Eddie feels like $1 million.
Oh yeah, way different, big time.
And feels like a new freaking person. And guess what? Is ready to go out there and kick ass and take names every freaking day. Complete different mindset.
Yep.
It's just amazing.
I agree, man. And I am looking for we're wrapping up now. This episode unfortunately has come to an end because we could talk about this all day. Turns out
my mouth runs like a fucking motor.
No, it's good because this is good stuff, man. And we're passionate about it.
It's like a solar powered freaking car in the Sahara Desert.
Right. So folks, come join us on a 60-day WellFit challenge. It's the amped up version of what we're doing after the 30-day. After tomorrow, we've put together a 60-day WellFit challenge, which is starting on September 1st. To get more information about that, you can check out last week's episode, episode 80. So head on over to changeyourpov.com/episode 80. And we describe in detail the 60-day WellFit challenge that we are starting on September 1st. And we got information on that episode that you could go. We'll share with you where you can go and get signed up for it and partake with us as well. So that's it, man. Tomorrow's the big day. It's our last weigh in for the 30-day WellFit challenge, and we're going to do pictures that we'll put on the website as well over at the 30-day WellFit challenge page, and all the links will be in the show notes for this episode. So, folks, never miss an episode. Hit subscribe in your podcast player of choice. We've got a lot more great content headed your way. If you want to check out everything we talked about and all the books that Bennett listed, you can find that over on the show notes page for this episode at changeyourpov.com/episode 83. We look forward to all of the input that you guys have about the 30-day WellFit challenge, and we're looking forward to very much so, and anybody that's serious about participating with us in the 60-Day Well-Fit Challenge. So again, go and check that out at episode 80. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to Change Your POV podcast with Eddie Lazary. Check out more content by going to changeyourpov.com. And remember, your ability and willingness to change your point of view will open doors of opportunity.